like I said, when I'm out in the field and it's a warm, sunny day and the sun is beating down on my face and a horse is coming up and, nudging me and putting his head on my shoulder, I'm like, this is the best place to be.
Yeah, you can't help but love
it. This
it.
is the best place to be. And that's I think that's what the kids feel too. It's like, there's kids that just, have never trusted anything and they've just had horrible experiences in life. But when they commune with the animals, it totally changes their outlook. And
it's therapy.
You can just kind of see the light come back in their eyes, and it's just a really cool thing.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, world? Glad you're back to tune in to another episode of Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. On this week's episode, we interviewed Sheryl DiStefano. She's a loving mother and wife, retired physician assistant, animal lover, jewelry maker, and even knits hats on her spare time. She's a busy, hard-working woman who's driven to serve and spread positivity. Most days now, you'll see her working at Purpose Farm. Purpose Farm is a local non-profit organization in Baldwinsville, New York that mentors youth ages 6 to 18 who've experienced emotional trauma from neglect and abuse. They're paired up with rescued farm and exotic animals that came from similar circumstances. They believe that through contact with animal and human mentors, the youth will gain a sense of purpose, experience genuine love, and restore their hope, while building confidence and gaining empathy towards humans and animals. Sheryl has found a sense of purpose in working for Purpose Farm. As the ambitious individual that she is, she's devoted to leaving the world better off than how she found it. She's opened herself up today to share her life story and perspective. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Sheryl DiStefano.
Today on Bindlism, we have Sheryl. What's your last name, Sheryl?
DiStefano.
DiStefano. Okay, so in relationship to Drew, how did you get into the whole print hub?
My son and Drew met 2 years ago, and I don't even know how they met, how they came together, but they decided to start this company called the Print Hub, which is on Geddes Street. It's the big white building on the corner of Geddes and Fayette. And really it was a startup company, and the company has grown substantially since they started it.
Okay. And you said you work there?
I do. Dan got me involved. I think he thought I needed something to do. I retired from my clinical practice, and I think he thought I needed something to do. So he's like, "Do you want to work down there?" And I'm like, "Sure." So that's how I got there, and I'm there 3 or 4 days a week.
Cool. So you said clinical practice?
Yes, I'm a PA.
Interesting.
Physician assistant. I've been a physician assistant since 1980.
Cool. I'm a mental health RN.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
where do you work?
Kind of connecting that. Helio Health.
Where I'm not
It's
familiar with that.
outpatient in Syracuse.
Okay.
It's right down the hill from St. Joe's.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. So just to delve in a little intro for you. Mm-hmm. So Sheryl DiStefano, do you want to give us a little background story of what project you're working on right now?
The project I'm working on right now that I would probably say is my baby is I became involved with a farm called Purpose Farm. It's out in Baldwinsville. It's on Route 31 heading towards Cato.
Okay.
And it's a animal rescue slash youth mentoring program.
Okay.
So when I became involved with that 2 years ago, have you ever heard of goat yoga?
I've seen a little bit of it on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you want to explain.
Yes. Goat yoga is basically you're in the goat pen. We usually do 30 people, and you're in the goat pen with the goats doing yoga.
Oh, wow.
There's an instructor in the front, and the goats are just kind of freely roaming around. And, luckily, the goats there are pretty friendly, so they're pretty interactive with the people. And, some people are honestly trying to do yoga, but most people are just, kind of petting the goats, getting the goats to come over to them, sitting and letting the goats come over to them.
Just kind of enjoying the moment.
You're just kind of enjoying the moment because, there's nothing better than on a sunny day. You're outside kind of communing with the goats and communing with nature and yoga and everything. So it's pretty cool.
So is that kind of similar to what you guys do over at Purpose Farm?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Purpose Farm, got the recognition. We're one of the top 10 places to do goat yoga in the country. So, and we do it every other weekend in this. Usually it's every other weekend in the summer, and we do it in the goat pen if it's nice out because it's an outdoor pen. But if it's not, we do it in the goat area in the. There's an area in the barn where we can do it too, and if we're during inclement weather.
Now, did you personally start this up?
No, Sandra, the founder of Purpose Farm, was approached to do it, and 2 years ago, I think may have been her inaugural year to do it. And a friend just she's like, let's go do it. And I'm like, I don't know. And so finally I went, and honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened. I mean, it kind of led into, after the goat yoga, I had a chance to talk to Sandra, one of the founders, and her daughter. And I got to, kind of tour the farm and feed the animals. And it clicked. It just clicked for me. So, and I've been there 2 years later. I went home and filled out an application online. And
so originally you just went there as entertainment
to do goat yoga, just to be entertained by the goats.
Okay.
And then I went home immediately and filled out an application to volunteer. And then I submitted it, and 3 months later, Sandra called me, and I started. We have a table to sell things that promote the goat yoga and the farm, and I started working there, and it's all kind of cascaded from there. Now I do a lot more volunteer activities there.
So just from that one event.
From that one event, yes.
Wow, and you just have that connection with her now?
Yes.
On personal basis?
Yes. Yeah, Sandra and her family are great. They're very welcoming and very open. And really, Sandra and her family are just great humans. They're really just great humans to be around.
And does she own the farm?
Her and her husband own the farm, yes.
Okay, interesting. So now you're a voice head? A speaker for Purpose Farm?
Yes, that's kind of gotten handed down to me, which I really like. I did a speaking engagement today at the Eastwood Rotary, and last weekend I spoke at a church. The church had a painting, that painting with a twist kind of thing where you go and you paint a picture like an instructor.
Drinking wine and stuff like that?
Well, no wine, but but yes, painting with a twist, you can drink wine. But at the church event, there was no wine.
Makes sense.
But yeah, well, and they raised $1,000 for us, for which we were very grateful. So, Purpose Farm is a nonprofit entity, so we're kind of always looking for sponsorship from different places. So, the church did an event for us, which I spoke in church, and I spoke at the event, and it was a painting event. It was fun.
That was at the farm itself? Oh,
no, it was at the church
to raise money for
the farm.
Okay, so you guys reach out to different local organizations.
Yes.
And that's how you fund Purpose Farm?
Yes. We fund Purpose Farm through grants, corporate sponsors, private donations, anything that will, and we're doing, we do different events like the painting event. And I reached out to Urban Life Athletics. Are you familiar? Mm-hmm. They're on, I want to say Fayette Street, and it's the fourth floor of, I think it's 1003 Fayette Street, and they're doing a spin class for the farm in May. So yeah, we always try to kind of mix it up and do different things to help the farm.
Yeah, it's nice. You get the community involved. With every project.
Yes, which I definitely like that.
So as in your role of Purpose Farm, so you're going around speaking with different people.
Yes.
What other functions do you have?
Well, some of them not so pretty. I clean the pastures. I'm one of the people that cleans the pastures. And I also provide food for two of the pigs. The pigs' name are Copper and Crispy Bacon. Crispy Bacon, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I do food for them. And like I said, I clean the pastures. I clean the stalls. Whatever Sandra asks me to do, I never say no to her. Mm-hmm.
Have you talked to a little bit with Sandra about where she originally got the idea?
Yes. There was a couple inciting events. One was she has always had a love for horses. And Purpose Farm is primarily a horse farm. Although a lot of the other animals all the animals have been rescued, but there's other animals. There's 13 horses, 6 pigs, goats, alpacas, a camel. We just got a camel last year. A peacock, a peahen, a rooster, a chicken, 2 donkeys. So all the animals have been rescued. And I'm sorry, I forgot the question. I got going.
So a little bit like your nonprofit,
Yes.
nonprofit philanthropy
Yes.
kind of work. So in what you talking a little bit about you take in rescue animals.
Yes.
And then is that open for anyone? Can anyone go to Purpose Farm and get like the benefits of going?
It's not a petting zoo. I mean, it's not like
Okay.
people can just stop in and, feed the animals or anything like that. If you really want to come and you're interested in volunteering, you have to either connect with Sandra or one of her family or me or somebody, and you have to fill out an online waiver to be on the farm for your protection and our protection too. But yeah, it's not just free form. Like you just can't stop in. You have to like make an appointment.
Okay, so that's your way of like keeping everyone safe, everything
Yes.
organized,
Yes.
and everything like that.
And kind of knowing who's on the farm and who's coming and who's going and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's true. Yeah, make sure everyone's protected.
Right.
No crazy things.
And the one kind of
happening.
cool thing about this type of program is while we rescue the animals, we also set up a youth mentoring program. So while the animals have been in some situation that was not very good and we rescued them, we reached out to different organizations and different people, and we take youth that are that have had emotional trauma from abuse or neglect or being bullied, and we pair them with the animals. And they both kind of help each other recover, which is kind of, I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah,
I don't know of anywhere else around here that does
That's interesting.
something like that.
Very interesting.
And the kids do really well. Most of the kids benefit, and you can kind of see the change in the kids kind of happening before your eyes. I mean, it's kind of like, how, when you come home, your dog is standing at the door, kind of wiggling, like, oh, you're home, you're home. I mean, that's kind of how the animals feel. The animals are grateful for the attention, and the kids kind of learn. I mean, these are kids who probably have issues with trusting and, trusting adults and trusting people in general and things like that. And the kids learn kind of genuine love and nurturing of another being, which I think is just a really cool concept.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you've probably...
Well, you must know, being in mental health, that,
Yeah,
there's a lot of need out there. And we can't, we would like to accommodate everybody, but we just can't. I mean, the numbers of kids who need our services is like huge. And we can't accommodate that many. We try to take as many people, and we usually only do this in the summer, like in the nice months. But I mean, we just can't, accommodate everybody,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true.
kind of sad, because a lot of people need our services. A lot of kids need our services.
Are you guys looking off in like far future vision of where you want Purpose Farm to go?
I don't know that. I think we always want to make ourselves better. I mean, I think we always kind of want to improve, but I don't know what the bigger 5-year,
What's gonna
10-year
happen, yeah.
plan is.
Have you talked to Sandra a little bit about that at all?
Not yet. I mean, Sandra is a busy gal. I mean, she's always doing something. We get a lot of our funding from grants, and she is like the head grant writer. So she's usually got her face in the paper with a pen or the computer, writing grants. But I mean, someday I would just really like to sit down and like have like a 5-hour session
Yeah.
with her. I mean, that
Yeah,
would be.
definitely.
But I'll tell you, she is like. I can honestly say that looking in her eyes is truly like looking in the face of God. I mean, she is just such a good person.
Very compassionate.
And very compassionate, very nurturing. I know what you asked me. Like, how did Purpose Farm start? That's what you asked me. A couple of things happened. Sandra always loved horses. And in 2008, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember Erin Maxwell? Does that name mean anything to you? She was the little girl in Palermo that she was abused and neglected by her mom and her stepfather, and her stepbrother actually ended up killing her, like strangling her.
wow.
And that was in 2008. And in the same year, Sandra and her family did a mission to Romania in the orphanages. And every day they would go by this horse farm. And Sandra would think, why can't we make it so the horses and the kids meet and help each other? So when she came back to the United States, like, she set Purpose Farm into motion. And it was set up primarily as a horse farm. They adopted or rescued a horse named Justin, who is actually now the herd leader of all the horses and the donkeys. And they moved from East Syracuse to Purpose Farm in 2010, and in 2012, Purpose Farm was founded.
Okay. So you would say her mission would be to try to bring the community together with specifically little kids then, would you say?
Not little kids. I mean, it's kids ages 6 through 18 who, through, they have a need, and it's not just necessarily little, like we don't necessarily deal in all 6-year-olds or all 18-year-olds. There's a mix of ages, but our purpose is to serve the children and the families that have the need.
Okay. And that need could be, what would be the need that you're fulfilling?
Well, I mean, these are kids, like I said before, that have been abused or neglected or bullied, or they don't adapt well socially to social situations now they have emotional trauma, and we try to pair them with an animal that somehow is going to bring them
alleviate the
problems that they're having.
Oh, that's powerful. Very powerful.
We think so. Mm-hmm. I mean, you must know the need in mental health. I mean, there will never not be a need, you know, so.
I mean, yeah, everyone's dealing with mental health.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got issues, but some are greater than others.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And you guys are making a powerful impact on
hopefully
our community.
Hopefully.
Definitely. So, I mean, we've covered a lot about Purpose Farm. Mm-hmm. Would you care to go into your personal story at all?
Sure.
Okay. That's interesting to delve into, given that you have the background of physician assistant. Mm-hmm. Where did you graduate from?
I graduated in 1980 from Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania. When I applied to PA schools, I didn't want to go out west. There was quite a few schools out west, like Colorado, California, like out there, but I didn't want to go that far away. So I looked into schools on the Eastern Seaboard, and really the only ones that were around in 1980 were Gannon in Pennsylvania, Alderson Broaddus in West Virginia, and Duke. Do you know how PAs were started?
Not back then.
PAs were usually people who were medical corpsmen in the service, and they came back and they had all this wonderful medical experience, but they couldn't do anything because they didn't have a degree or a license. So the program was started at Duke by Eugene Stead. He was a physician who really felt that these people, the corpsmen, really needed a background to get a degree because they had so much wonderful medical experience being in the field.
What's a corpsman?
It's the medical personnel, like in the field.
This was specifically for military force?
Yes. I mean, that it was formed that, but then it kind of caught on that other lay people started getting into it too.
Yeah, definitely. And it was filling the market too.
Yes.
I mean, we need PAs in our hospital.
Right, adjunct medical people. Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Definitely. Okay. So you ended up going to Gannon?
Yes.
Was that a bachelor's?
Yes, 4-year program. And then I went to work in family practice for a year. And then I left that practice. And then I went to...
family practice out of
Pennsylvania, yes. Right out of school. Like I went to PA school right out of high school. So I was 18 when I went to college, and then I was like 21 when I went into the medical workforce, which is way too young. I mean, I think the way they do PA school now, you have to have a degree and medical experience and things like that.
Was it an accelerated program?
No, it was a 4-year program.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
But still, I mean, being 21 and being out in the medical field is overwhelming. I mean...
A lot to see.
A lot to see, a lot to do, and a lot of situations like more... interaction situations like I was not equipped to do because I was so young. I mean, I would be seeing women that were 80 who were asking me questions that I'm like, sure. And I mean, it's just, I think the way they do it now is you have to have a degree. You have to have medical experience, which back then you didn't. You just went right from high school into PA school. And I think the way they do it now is much better because you're more prepared to be out in the workforce.
Now, coming out of high school, did you know that was what you wanted to do?
Yes. In high school, I thought I was going to marry my boyfriend and be a medical secretary and everything was going to be happy and that. And luckily I had a great guidance counselor who pulled me in one day and said, "What are you doing? You're great at math and science and you have taken no secretarial courses." He goes, here's something that's new and upcoming. I really think you should explore this. So I looked into the PA programs and I just felt that was, again, that just filled a niche for me.
definitely. And you always had like the medical.
Yeah, I always wanted to do
interest
something
in
medical.
that.
Yeah.
And you're helping people.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yes, I like
That's
to be.
why
I
we're
like to
doing
help all
everything
kinds
what
of
we're
things.
doing.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so you worked in family practice for a little bit, and then you transitioned to.
And then I went to, I guess what we would call it, like I went to a facility that housed New York State's juvenile delinquents, which was very interesting. It kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know existed in the world.
Like what?
Well, I mean, I kind of came from a very middle class background, and life was generally good. My parents had, not a ton of money, but they had money to take care of me and take care of them. And these kids, the situations they came from were just horrendous. I mean, horrific. And you'd read their case files and just think, oh my God, like how. I mean, it's probably good that they're here because they'd probably be dead if they were. We got a lot of our kids from New York City, and I mean, just the crimes they committed were just horrific. I mean, it just kind of opened my eyes that there's a whole world of need out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like under the table too.
Yeah,
not like out in the media as well. Every now and then you see it, but
well, it kind of is. But I mean, it's just. I mean, I just came from a world where everything was just like, oh, life is great, and
happy-go-lucky.
Happy-go-lucky, and you get in your car and you go to work. You get in your car and you drive to school, and then you read these case files of these kids who don't have a penny and they're out selling drugs and doing things to make money that just aren't socially acceptable. So I mean, we had one girl. I mean, she was a prostitute at like 11. I mean, that's just, to me, it breaks my heart. It just shouldn't be like that. But I mean, that's kind of the background that the kids come from. Their parents didn't have money, or they were hanging out on the street or on the corner, or
and that's what they learned from.
And that's what they learned from. So of course they're going to be out on the street and running drugs and doing all kinds of things we would want to see kids doing.
How was your reaction to all of that? Do you remember did you get this like sense of drive or like compassion to want to help even more after being in this experience? Like,
I would say yes. Like, it kind of opened my eyes to the need of kids having those kind of issues. So I would say yes, because I continued to work in the system for 10 years, but then I met my husband, and he was on a medical school track. So then we did. We got married, and he moved to Syracuse, and then I moved to Syracuse. And this facility that I worked in was in Ithaca, and it was like literally an hour and a half drive down 81. And in the wintertime, it was kind of brutal. So I said, I think I better look for something in Syracuse. And I went to the Department of OBGYN at Upstate.
Oh, okay.
So, but I still kind of worked there like per diem. I worked at the facility per diem, but I was kind of removed. I didn't work there like full time or anything.
Okay, and that was transitioning straight from was it correctional?
Yeah, well, it was a juvenile facility. It wasn't prison or jail or anything like that. It was a juvenile facility.
And how long were you working at the OB?
The department, I worked 10 years.
Okay.
10 years, and then my husband did a fellowship in Buffalo, so we moved there for a year. And then when we moved back, I went to work at St. Joe's for a year.
And what did you do at St. Joe's?
I was a PA in their maternal child health center.
So out of all of these experiences as a PA, what would you say the biggest thing you learned from all of this?
I think it kind of...
difficult questions, maybe?
Yep. I think it makes you think. I've never even thought of it before, but I think it kind of opened my eyes to life in general. Like I said, I came from a very happy-go-lucky, middle-class background, and it just opened my eyes to the situations that are like everything is not rosy for everybody. And I think it made me kind of more compassionate as a human being, like towards people who were not necessarily in my world.
The world of?
Well, the world of, I think we as people kind of take some things for granted, that life is always going to be the way it is now, and, things like that. And there are people out there who just have lives that are not good at all. And I think it just made me more aware of
perspective.
Well, let me give you a situation. I worked at Family Planning of Onondaga County, and I worked down on the south side, down on South Onondaga Street. And it was a bare bones clinic. Like, it was 3 clinicians a receptionist, and a nurse. And that was the entire staff for the night. And we probably saw like 30 people. So as clinicians, we would have to go in the rooms by ourselves. And every single woman that I saw that night had some sort of bad, I guess I would say, sexual experience, whether it be a date, an uncle, a dad, a brother, a neighbor, and I mean, it just kind of opened my eyes to.
And that was at the OB center?
Well, that was at the Family Planning Center on Onondaga Street.
Oh, okay. And that's just open to the public?
Yeah, I mean, anybody can come. It was a sliding fee scale, but I was just like, oh my God, like, just kind of opens your eyes to things are not all rosy out in the world.
And especially coming from the background you had.
Right.
Definitely. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a very small town in western New York called Newfane.
Never even heard of it.
I know. It's very close. It's about 20 miles from Niagara Falls, up on Lake Ontario.
Not near Buffalo area?
Buffalo area.
Oh, it is.
Yes, definitely. It's about, 30 miles north of Buffalo.
And then you went to high school, grew up?
Went to high school, grew up, wanted to get the heck out of Newfane, like once I reached 18. So I went to school in Pennsylvania, and then I went directly to work.
Anything in particular that made you want to get out? Quick?
It was just, boy, I would say, I mean, I don't mean to sound judgy, but it was just like everybody, like it was the same thing every day. Like my dad, God rest his soul, like he got up, went to work every day, worked 7 to 4, got out, went to the pub, came home at 6, had dinner, went to bed. And I mean, a lot of people in our town, it was like kind of a factory town. Like we had a General Motors plant very close to us, and it was the same thing. It was like everybody just went to work at the plant, went to a bar on the way home, came home, and I just did not want to be a part of that. Like I wanted
the routine.
I guess I just wanted more. And there was a lot of alcoholism in my town, so I just didn't want to be any part of that. I wanted just out of the town.
Up and leave. Yeah.
Up and leave, yep.
Definitely. And I mean, you made a life for yourself, pretty adventurous, got out of your hometown and went to Gannon, and now you're in Syracuse, and
I love Syracuse.
You're working with Purpose Farms.
Yes. I mean, yeah, and with Purpose Farm, to go back to that, I just really found like I have found my niche in life. I mean, it's just, there's nothing better than on a sunny day. Like some days I'll just go out by myself, grab the rake, scoop poop in the pasture for 3 or 4 hours. And it's kind of nice because the horses I'm in the pasture with the horses and the donkeys and the alpacas, and they're all just kind of milling around, and, the horse will just come up and like, sniff you and then, go off. And I especially like the donkeys. The donkeys are named Shrek and Dominic. And honestly, they'll just come up and kind of nudge you like, pet me, and you do it and off they go. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like, I feel very close to God, like when that's happening. And Sandra and her family are very faith-based. And that's one reason, why she started Purpose Farm. And I mean, that's just such a great experience. The sun is shining down on you and the animals. And yeah, I don't know. I feel very serene when I'm out there.
Like, okay, so you mentioned that you're religious. What religion?
Catholic.
Catholic. Okay.
But our youth mentoring program is non-denominational, and I might mention too that the youth program is free. Like we don't charge any fees to the organizations or the families that suggest the kids. There's never any fee for.
Does Sandra go to your church as well?
No.
Okay.
She's in Beeville and I'm in Jamesville, so we're like, 20 miles apart. But like I said, there's no fee at any point in time for any of the families or the children that come there. And, some of the things we do with the kids that are really fun for them is it's primarily a horse farm. So, they can brush or, tack, or sometimes we even let them do like minimal veterinary services with the horses. Sometimes they ride, but it is not primarily a riding program. But, they can lead the horses around and, do things like I said, brush them and tack them and things like that. But I'll tell you what the kids really like are the smaller animals. I mean, we're right on the Seneca River. So, I mean, from the barn to the Seneca River is probably, I don't know, 300, 500 feet. We put a leash on the pigs and they lead the pigs down to swim in the river, which is really fun. Or sometimes, they run with the goats. And I mean, that expends energy of both the goats and the children, which is always good. So we find that they like holding the birds and, just things like that. And our sessions are run, like the kids and the session leader always talk about what they can possibly do that day.
As far as like
activities. And,
okay.
but the leader always has the final say. So, I mean, yeah, and because, I mean, if the leader can sense that the child isn't ready to do what the child wants to do, you kind of have to say, well, you know what, instead of doing that, let's do this. I think you would really like this. So,
okay, just try to like personalize it to them.
Yes.
And make it the best experience for
yes.
them. Okay, interesting. So what's your perspective? You're bringing up that you're Catholic. What's your perspective with religion as far as like growing up? Interested in hearing a little bit about that.
I was brought up my parents were divorced. So my mother was not, both my parents were like kind of excluded from back then. I mean, divorced people couldn't really have any involvement in the church. So I guess I wasn't raised very Catholic. But as I mean, I always want my kids to understand religion and things like that. So we've tried to be better, to be involved with the church, go to church, have the kids make their communion, their confirmation, different things like that. So I guess it started out like I wasn't very religious, but we're always trying to be better. So
like go to church. How would you define better?
Better is, I mean, I would like to go to church every week, but it doesn't always work out that way.
You get busy.
You get, things just come up. And my daughter is a competitive gymnast, so a lot of times what she's doing kind of takes you away from the church. I mean, I just think, the involvement in the church and things like that. I think that to me is like better. Like you just try to be involved as involved as you can in the church and
in
church
the community
activities.
too.
Yeah.
And now with Purpose Farm, you guys kind of find ways of connecting that with the church.
Yes,
to raise money.
I mean, I feel like lately I'm always on the phone, like calling a church or calling somewhere. Well, the painting event, the lady that led the painting event is great. Her name is Allison Ray. She wants her youth group to come out and volunteer like all summer. So that'll be great. I mean, because that helps us. It gets us involved with the community, and it also helps us do the chores that we need to do, like daily chores.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm always
at the same time everyone's enjoying themselves.
Yep. I'm always trying to get like schools and youth groups and different clubs and things like that to come out and join us. So a lot on the phone a lot.
Yeah. So Sandra's perspective, you said she was religious as well. What's her background with that?
I don't know what denomination she is, but I just know
she's Catholic.
I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. But I mean, she goes to church like every week, and she's involved, with her church. I mean, she's just her and her family she's raising her family to respect God, and be very godlike. And I mean, I think God is kind of, in addition to being something you worship, I think it's something you live. Like, I think being a good person and a good human, being kind, being compassionate,
preach.
I think that has some godly meaning as well. And I mean, her and her family definitely fulfill that. So yeah, but I can't speak to exactly like what Sandra believes, because I mean, we've never talked about it, but she is very faith-based and very religious. And that was part of the initial impetus for starting the Purpose Farm.
Was for a service of God,
right?
In a service,
to be of service of God and to the children and the families that needed it, and the animals. I mean, because they rescued all the animals.
Yeah, she's a woman on a mission.
Yes, definitely.
That's for sure. And was it a mission? Was it a missionary that she went on to go travel and come back?
Well, I mean, they did do that mission in Romania in 2008 with the orphanages, but to my knowledge, that's the only mission she's ever been on. And again, I don't know, like we've never discussed that, but I know she was very open about discussing. And in in the literature, like on the website, she, goes into like, a whole detailed kind of essay about when they went to the orphanages and what they saw and, things like that. So
a little backstory to
Yep.
it. Yeah, so if anyone's interested in the backstory behind Purpose Farm, go check out their website.
www.purposefarm.org.
Perfect. There you have it.
Yes.
Interested. How did you... Okay, so you were led to us by your son?
No,
Or-
actually, the other day, I heard your podcast with Bill O'Brien,
Okay.
who I came away, I think he is a really good human being. I just think he's a great guy, and he has very positive messages for, I hope people like youth and that are listening to your podcast, because I think the messages that he put out were they were wonderful.
Yeah, awe-inspiring.
Very,
For
yeah.
sure.
And he's done like a lot to, promote himself and promote his background, and he just had so many positive messages.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying to Drew, I'm like, who is that on the radio? And he said it was your podcast, and it was Bill O'Brien on the podcast. But I was just very, inspired
Yeah, definitely.
by him. He's a great human being.
He had a lot of like mindset techniques as far as like what you would do if you're feeling negative,
Right.
And like how you flip that switch.
Right.
and just,
No,
like,
I was just like, oh my God, this kid, this young man.
I know. He's
has
like
a
less than
lot
30,
of
I
really
think.
good messages. Yeah. And I knew he was a lax player. Both my sons played lax. And no, I was just like kind of blown away by him as a person.
For sure.
I just thought, good human being.
Bill, thanks for coming on. Shout out to Bill. So what were your intentions of coming on? So you heard that and then...
Well, I kind of I'm always thinking, like always trying to come up with ways to promote Purpose Farm. But then I'm kind of like, well, you know what? I've never done a podcast. I could probably do a podcast. Let me just get on Instagram and,
send a direct message.
Contact you, send a DM, and let's see what comes of it.
Yeah, and we're always open for anyone who's interested to come on, definitely. So thanks for sending out your message.
No problem.
Super grateful.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. I think it should. Okay. So recently, we listen to podcasts at the Print Hub every single day. There's always somebody on, Gary V, or this
he's
person,
huge.
or you're on a lot. So, I was just like,
For what?
Well, it's just your different podcasts.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I never, before like I started working at the Print Hub, I never listened to a podcast. Like I didn't even know what a podcast was. And I was like, oh my God. And then, really, I was very inspired by Bill. He was just so many positive messages. And, I know he's a young man. He's not like, 50 years old and he's lived like a whole life or anything like that. But
Very wise
just
for his
very
age.
wise for his age. I get the sense that he wants to promote his community and, his different activities. And I know he does a lot in the community. And I'm just like, wow. I'm like, he's impressive. Like he's an impressive human being. And, just the whole podcast thing, I'm like, and I always try to do something different. And I thought, well, I've never done a podcast, and my son did a podcast. Well, he does podcasts all the time.
Okay.
And he's like,
What's his called? Just a little shout out for him. His podcast, what's it called?
well, he's on podcasts. He
okay.
doesn't
Guest
do
speaking.
podcasts, but he's kind of an entrepreneurial fitness expert, and he's done a couple startup companies. So, and that's what he discussed and he usually discusses in his podcast. But I'm just like, oh, this is really cool. This is kind of like a new technology. It probably isn't new, but, it's just like, that's cool. I want to do that. So I reached out.
Yeah, it's all about taking the risk and
Yep.
seeing what happens.
Yep.
And good things come.
It only took 60 years to do it, but
Well, also the technology has grown.
Yep.
It's become a lot more accessible to be able to do podcasts.
right.
Like this setup right now, all we have is a mic. I'm using my iPhone
all you
to
need.
videotape this and my laptop.
That's all you
And
need.
that's it. Yeah. So it's cool. It's easy now. Definitely. So thinking about like more future-oriented stuff, you're working at Purpose Farms. Purpose
Well, not
Farm.
working. I'm not an employee. I'm a volunteer.
Volunteering.
Yes.
There. Okay. What other kind of things are you doing right now?
Right now, well, I'll tell you, I'm I mean, I'm a mom, so a wife and a
First
mom.
and foremost.
First and foremost, wife and mom. My 2 sons are 26, and they were twins, and they've gone off to, live their own lives. My daughter is 13. We adopted her from China 12 years ago.
Oh.
And
I'm adopted from Korea.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so, we adopted her 12 years ago, and she's 13 now, teenager, and she's a competitive gymnast, so I'm usually running her around like 6 days of the week.
Yeah.
And
Full-time job.
Yeah, and, she's got her activities and all her things going on, and I work 4 days, usually between 2 and 4 days, usually like more 4 days at the print hub. And, my time that I'm not at the print hub, I'm usually at Purpose Farm.
Okay.
So that kind of consumes my life, like right now. One thing I do too that probably might be interesting to somebody, I don't know who, is I'm an avid crocheter and knitter. And I'm knitting and crocheting all kinds of things that we can sell at different events and different craft fairs and things to raise. I donate all the yarn and all my services and everything to raise money for the farm.
You're like an entrepreneurial philanthropist.
Well, I don't know that I would go that far, but I try to do what I can. My very small part in it, I just keep trying.
Yeah, it's all about sending out positivity. And you're ending up making a positive impact because of it.
I hope so.
Yeah, and you're using your skills. You're able to identify what skills you have and what you're able to give back to the community. And that's huge.
I try.
Even if it's just the littlest of things, such as picking up poop at the farm.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not a glory-filled event, but like I said, when I'm out in the field and it's a warm, sunny day and the sun is beating down on my face and a horse is coming up and, nudging me and putting his head on my shoulder, I'm like, this is the best place to be.
Yeah, you can't help but love
it. This
it.
is the best place to be. And that's I think that's what the kids feel too. It's like, there's kids that just, have never trusted anything and they've just had horrible experiences in life. But when they commune with the animals, it totally changes their outlook. And
It's therapy.
You can just kind of see the light come back in their eyes, and it's just a really cool thing.
And that might be their first experience with
Right,
these
their
kinds of
first good
animals.
experience. Yeah, exactly.
And with any warm sense of compassion, connection with
Well,
another
hopefully,
living.
I think the kids feel genuine love and nurturing and empathy for when they connect with the animal. I think that's kind of what comes back in them, which is our goal. And we're we consider at Purpose Farm that it's our honor and our privilege to serve the children and their families, to make, their lives the best that they can be at the farm.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That could be, this could be I was going to say, it might be their only sense of empathy or compassion that they have in their time right now, in their period of life right now. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of good things. This is our first podcast where we're interviewing someone that is a part of the organization that was created. Because we're usually talking about the person that created the organization.
Okay, yes.
And so, we could be able to, delve into the idea behind what gave them the idea for Purpose Farms and stuff like that. And it's interesting to hear your perspective on this, being a part of something and still being as passionate about the work that you're doing. For sure.
I've just always loved animals. And, I was raised in the town I was raised in had a lot of, cows and horses and things like that. But I was never, my uncle raised cows for meat. And, it was kind of you'd get close to the cow and then it would be on your dinner plate. It'd be okay, this is not cool. But like I said, the animals are all rescued. They live out their lives on the farm. We do not resell them or rehome them or anything. And Raven, Sandra's daughter, is the one that's done most of the rescuing. I think she goes online and, checks Facebook and Craigslist and, all kinds of websites to try to find what, what needs to be rescued.
Any injured animals out there?
We have a couple that were injured prior to being on the farm. That was kind of how they got to the
so
farm.
they don't have to be injured?
No, they don't have to be injured, but they've all been rescued from some not great situations. Like a couple of the horses, or some of the horses were being, didn't fulfill their need on the farm, so they were being sold to like a meat buyer who was going to take them across the border to be slaughtered. Crispy Bacon, who is the pig, my favorite pig. He's the pig I feed, and I socialize him. His situation was he was owned by a man down on the south side who got him as a little teeny pig. And everybody loves a little teeny pig. They're cute and they're, he grew and grew and grew and grew because I think a lot of them are sold under false pretenses, like they're going to be this size forever. And guess what? They're not. They grow into a pig. And so the man put him in like a wire cage with a tarp over it, and the ground kind of grew up over the wire. And Sandra's husband is a plumber. He did some plumbing work at this house, and he happened to notice the tarp over there, and he asked what it was, and the man said, "Oh, that's my pig." And Howard said, I'm sure he thought like that's not good. So he went home and told Sandra, and Sandra, I believe, came back with him and said, "Either you turn the pig over to me, or I'm going to report you to the city."
Oh wow!
So they literally had to cut Crispy out of the wire. They had to cut the wire out of because it was like it had grown up like so much. And I just think that's really sad. Yeah, I mean, it's just just those things. It makes me think that there are just certain people who should never own an animal.
And there's people out there that are willing to go above and beyond to save these animals.
Right. I mean, somehow you hope it evens out, but I always think there's more cruelty, more bad situations than there are people that want to rescue them. But you do what you can.
Do you think that's what drives you to want to do the work that you do for Purpose Farm?
Maybe. I mean, I just kind of set out in general to do the best I can do every single day.
In whatever it is.
In whatever. Like, whatever I do, I always try to do the best I can.
With purpose. Or maybe not purpose, but with hard work, drive.
Yeah,
motivation.
I mean, I think most people just set out to be the best and leave the day better than it started out. I think that's what my son always says. He goes, you should always, at the end of the day, you should have done something that makes it a better day for you or for somebody else. And I just try to live by that,
It's like the quote where they say, like, leave the world better than when you entered it.
Yes.
And I before dying, leave the world better off than when you entered it.
Right. And it kind of took me 60 years to kind of get that. I've always been, a okay person, but I want to do the best I can wherever I am, like whether I'm at work or at Purpose Farm or, with my kids or, I just always want to do the best, kind of be the best I can be.
Yeah, definitely. And another good point to add is you're not able to give if you're not yourself healthy either. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, like not selfish, but make sure that you're well off, to be able to give. You can't give if you don't have anything to give.
Right.
So.
Well, I know Bill O'Brien the other day talked a lot about nutrition and what he eats and what he does and things like that. And I think when you get to be my age, you kind of start thinking, oh yeah, I really should be eating right and exercising and, doing things like that. So yeah, I try to, be as healthy as I can be. And, I used to personal train with my son every day because he worked at Urban Life and he worked at Orange Theory too. So, and he would come into my house and personal train me. And, now that he moved to Boston, I'm kind of doing it on my own. But, you just try to keep yourself intact, Yeah,
definitely. So like now that you retired from working as a PA, I'm sure that was very...
I'm busier now than I was when I worked. Yeah, and I've never been a person to sit still. Like I can't, for an example, like I just can't sit down and watch TV. Like I've got to be sitting at our counter doing something, or like I also make jewelry. So I'm sitting at my table, like making jewelry, or I'm sitting on the couch knitting or crocheting or something. Like I never have just been a person to just kind of be. Like I can't sit still. So, I'm kind of always doing something.
Yeah. I can feel the energy.
Oh, good.
As we're talking in this podcast. Yeah. It's very, like, energizing and I'm, like, ambitious. Yeah. You can feel it. You can feel the energy.
Good.
So you got your business with jewelry. Are you selling it?
Well.
Or just making it?
I just, I guess I kind of am because I make some for Purpose Farm that they put out on the table at Goat Yoga, like for sale or various events, it'll be put out. But, mainly I just kind of make it and give it away.
That's kind. Very kind.
I don't know. I just kind of feel bad charging people for it, but I will charge the people at Purpose Farm. I will charge them.
And it's just like the process, the act of making the jewelry could be fun. And then, like you said, being able to give back.
Well, I kind of feel like I'm giving a piece of me to people. Like just a short story. My mother-in-law was a great lady. I mean, she was just a really, really a great human being. And when she died, she had a chandelier that was in her kitchen that she really liked. So my husband took it down and he brought it home. And in the process of moving, I don't know how it got cracked, but the chandelier, the metal part of it cracked and there was no repairing it. So I deconstructed all the crystals on the chandelier and cleaned them and made them sparkly and shiny again. And I incorporate those into my jewelry and I give those to people that I think are special because she was very special to me.
It's a good way of, like, remembrance for her. Would you say she was your biggest inspiration or one of the inspirations?
She was just wonderful. I mean, she's just a really, really nice Italian grandmotherly lady. And she was great. She's a great lady.
I guess since we're hitting on inspiration, who would you say your biggest inspiration is in your life?
Oh, you would. I see. I knew you were going to ask me like some question like that. Boy, I don't know. I would say one person is definitely my husband. I mean, he's a really good human being. And, just to see the love that he has for his family. I mean, he has been at like every single sporting event that all the children have done. And, and he doesn't miss it. And he'll go out of his way to do anything for anybody, kind of the give you the shirt off his back type person. And
similar to the way you live your life too.
I don't think I live mine quite as well as he does, but no, I mean, he's a really good person. And I don't know, that's a hard question. There's so many people that I've come in contact with. I would say since I've met Sandra and her family, I mean, they are definitely an inspiration.
And you can gather it from everyone. Like you were saying with Bill, he inspired you, even if it was in the short podcast.
And honestly, I was so impressed with him. I mean, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, and I was impressed that he's young. Like, I don't know how old he is. I would say like 25, 26, maybe. Does that seem right? Or is he older?
I don't think he said his age.
Okay, I don't think he said his age either, but I just remember, I looked him up on Instagram. I'm like, gotta look him up. And I said to Drew, do you know Bill O'Brien? He's like, oh, yeah. And,
he knows everyone.
He does. And so I looked him up on Instagram. And again, the messages on Instagram were like very positive and very, hardworking young man. And I think he's accomplished a lot in his life and he's a hard worker. And, I just very impressed by him.
It's really nice to see entrepreneurs or like people that are trying to grow themselves, but do it in a way that's also giving back, and not just in a selfish way to just rack in cash.
Right.
I mean?
And, I always like it when like younger people say, oh, my dad had an influence on me or my mom had an influence on me. And I know he talked about them. He talked about his brother, and he seems to be very family oriented and, great messages. I don't know. I was very impressed by that young man.
So we're delving in, we're at 50 minutes. So last couple questions.
But in terms of the inspiring thing, I think there's been a lot of people who have been significant in my life, and I guess like too many to name. Like we could probably go on and on forever, but I would say my husband is one, and I mean Sandra and her family have had an influence in my life and my thinking.
What impact do you want to have for the world? What impact do you want to have on the world?
Oh, are these like the hard questions now? Well, I guess that quote that you said, like, I want to leave the world a better place than when I came to it. I mean, I definitely want to, and I don't know that my impact will be measurable, by standards, but I want to
to the people closest to you.
Yep. I want to be a good wife and a good mom. And, I want to be there for my husband and my kids. And I want to, do all I can to help Sandra, support the farm and, volunteering and, I'm always kind of thinking, like, what can we do to raise money? Because, like I said before, she is a nonprofit. And, we get our resources through grants and private donations and corporate sponsors and events and, different things like, and I think we're always thinking, like, what does the future hold for us, at Purpose Farm? Because, we don't want the money to run out. So, I'm kind of always thinking, like,
it's grant-based, right?
Well, grant-based, plus we, corporate sponsorship, local business sponsorship, private donations, things like that. So we're always kind of thinking, I'm always kind of thinking, I'm sure Sandra is too, like always kind of thinking, what can we do to raise money, raise funds? But I don't know, I guess I just want to be the best human being that I can be, just keep chugging along.
Which leads us into the next question.
Oh boy, you're hitting me with all these hard ones.
What does it mean to be human to you, your perspective?
To be human. That's a tough question. Where'd you do you have like your little list that you get these questions? I think to be human is to be vulnerable. I think you try to be the best person you can be. I mean, it doesn't always work out like that, but I think you try to keep going every day and do the best you can and work hard and
give it your all.
Give it your all, yeah. I think, but I mean, there is a certain amount of vulnerability with every human being, and I think you try to show love and appreciation, like when you can. And I think one thing I always try to do is I always try to appreciate the people around me, whoever it will be, and be kind and nice to people because you never know what impact that is going to have on them. You know what I mean? Like, you could say...
It's a ripple effect.
A person could be having a really crappy day and, you just kind of smile at them and say, hey, how you doing? Or, how are things going? And that can, like, totally change that person's day. So, just trying to be kind and compassionate and have empathy for others. And I guess that's as close as I can define it.
The big thing that sticks out to me is vulnerability. So by allowing us to be vulnerable, like right now in this podcast, we're just doing it off the top of our heads. Like that's vulnerable in a sense too. We're not
I was terrified to come on here. I will tell you that.
I get terrified too.
No, I was like, what am I going to say? What is he going to ask me? And my son's like, can you talk? Can you talk? And you said the same thing. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I can talk. Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, is to showcase, like, we're not perfect. We have mistakes that are made and we learn from them. And that level of vulnerability, I think, can help people connect with the message that you're trying to give in a more human way. And to realize that, I can do some of this stuff. Like, that's inspiration right there.
Good. Well, I hope I inspired somebody.
Yeah.
Because you can, if I can do it, anybody can do it, honestly.
If you want to have a end off, how can people connect with you on the internet? Do you have like Instagram, Facebook, or do you even want people to connect with you?
No, that's fine. People can reach out to me. My Facebook is, I'm on Facebook, and my email is Catwoman. I'm not a crazy Catwoman. Catwoman at twcny.rr.com. You can always probably reach me through info@purposefarm.org. That's Purpose Farm's email, but Sandra can always get messages to me and things like that. I'm also on Instagram. I think I'm ShareShay58. I think, but if you go on and look up Sheryl DiStefano, I'm sure it'll hook you in. Not on Twitter, not on Snapchat or anything like that. I think Snapchat is I get the sense that Snapchat is younger people.
I'm not on it.
Where my sons tell me that Facebook has been taken over by the older people. I don't know that that's true, but yeah, please reach out to me. I'm available through any means. Happy to chat.
Thanks for having.
Thanks for being on the show. It was really good. I liked it.
And everyone check out Purpose Farms. You can find them at what's the address?
www.purpose. If you just go on and Google Purpose Farm, it'll come up. But it's www.purposefarm.org.
Okay, and where's the physical location?
The physical location is 1454 West Genesee Street in Baldwinsville. We are right along the Seneca River. It's on Route 31, headed towards Cato. But you cannot just come out there. You have to make an appointment. So It's not like, a petting zoo where you just kind of stop in and pay money. You need to make an appointment with someone at the farm to like be at the farm. You just can't randomly.
Do you have to
go
be
out
an
there.
organization or like a school to be able to go?
Well, usually you have to contact through me or Sandra or something. If it's a group
Okay.
coming out, it's probably coming to volunteer, and there always needs to be a team leader, of which I am one. You always have to connect with somebody to be on the farm.
Okay. Thanks for being on the show.
Please come out. Yes. And do goat yoga. You will love goat yoga. No, really, it's great. I mean, and our first goat yoga, can I say this?
Yeah.
Our first goat yoga is next Saturday, April 13th at 9 a.m., rain or shine. If it's a nice day, we will be out in the goat pen. If it's not a nice day, we will be in the barn. There's an Easter egg hunt for prizes and baskets, and there's all kinds of great stuff for sale.
Perfect.
So come out and see us and see the goats. You will love it.
And make sure you email you first before you go?
Well, no, goat yoga, you sign up online.
Oh. Okay.
It's an online sign up and you sign a waiver. And, you don't even have to do yoga. Some people, like I said, just sit and relax and, play with the goats and things like that. You don't even have to do yoga. So
Cool. There we go.
there we
Cut.
go. Yay!
Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Thank you again to Sheryl for reaching out to us to share your story and spread the word about Purpose Farm. We appreciate your perspective on life and are excited to see where things go for you and the farm. If you haven't already, give this podcast a follow. That way you'll be notified when we post new episodes. We are Boho Hobo, and you can follow us at boho_hobo_ on Instagram and Twitter, Boho Hobo for Facebook and YouTube, and our website is bohohobolifestyle.com. We'd really love to have you guys check out our blog. We've been posting a lot of these recently, and we'll be continuing to do that in the coming weeks and months ahead. Kyle actually just posted a new post not too long ago called What Type of Intelligence Are You? This blog breaks down the 9 different types of intelligence that were developed by Howard Gardner, who is a developmental psychologist. It's a really cool read, and we would love to see what kind of intelligence our audience is. So you have the chance, go onto our website, go to the blog, and check that one out. Leave a comment, and we'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Other than that, we will see you next time on Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. Hope you have a great rest of your week, weekend, whenever you're listening to this. See you next time.